to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, episode number 59, streaking our way through season 1 of Warzone the Pacific in Caldera, hitting a little bit of some turbulent weather, I'd say, over the past week, which gives us on the podcast quite a lot to dive into that. But before we sink our teeth into some of these big old issues, I'm going to ask my co-host, the 10-inch How was your week in the Warzone?
Well, hi. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, my week was good. I played a lot this week. I played a lot of Warzone this week. It was kind of one of those weeks where your head hurts by the end of the day because you've been playing too much Warzone. One of those weeks. Played a lot. The old cowgirl's been out of town. So, you know how that goes. You end up just hitting the console hard. So playing a lot this week, but it's been good. I'm enjoying it more. I think I had a lot of fun this week. I played a lot of Rebirth this week on Rebirth Island. And yeah, I enjoy the resurgence on Rebirth, obviously, and I do enjoy the resurgence on Caldera, which I don't think you do. So kind of like explored all the different game modes with a variety of people. But yeah, I mean, not to get too deep into the weeds, but I got some headset issues right now. Like sometimes people can't hear me. I can't hear them. I got, crazy sounds coming. I think I got a busted cable in my headset. So I'm trying to figure out how to get a new headset here. So that was my week in a nutshell. How was your week in the Warzone?
My week was a mixed bag. I would say early on, kind of got back in the saddle, so to speak. We got in with our kind of Rebirth crew, our quad crew we have that we run with. We really gel as a team. Like, we just work well on the Rebirth Resurgence playlist. And I mean, I think we had a session where we had 4 or 5 wins. I was back to my old reliable C58 OTS loadout. Loving life, refinding the joy of the Warzone. But then, as the recurring theme on this podcast, a phrase we've uttered many times, that the Warzone giveth and the Warzone taketh away. And what happened on Thursday when they issued the playlist update? They get rid of Rebirth quads. They give us trios. And we were able to kind of run that. But I mean, so often you have 4 players. So we didn't kind of force back to Caldera. As you said, we played a little bit of that Caldera Resurgence. It's all right. I do think it's cool for kind of learning the map, but just doesn't have the same magic for me, and so I've struggled a bit. So that was kind of the down and then up and down, I should say, week for me.
Yeah, I feel like the Caldera Rebirth or Caldera Resurgence, it only spawns circles in a couple of areas. I don't know if you've noticed that. I feel like it's always at Resort or at the mines or at a beachhead. Or Subpen, maybe. One of those.
Subpen, yes.
Yeah, it's just always in one of those areas. So, I mean, I got to know those areas pretty well. But yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't ever go to Lagoon. It never goes to the fields. It never goes to Peak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting that it does kind of, it's almost like the outskirts of the island. Like, you're never really inland.
Well, Mines is kind of inland,
I suppose, but no real wide open areas, which I think could make for some interesting resurgence actions, especially, as the circle's closing. It seems like it kind of always closes on a building, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, where on the map would it not be on a building? I guess if it closed north of Peak or something in that area where it's just kind of the foothills of Peak, I guess would be a non-building zone.
That's perhaps, yes.
Okay, I'm glad we established that.
Well, that said, we got our feet wet. No real new game modes, no real new weapons, new introductions going on. However, there were some things patched that we touched on last week, namely the invisible skin, which conveniently was the skin you unlocked at level 100 of the battle pass. That was finally patched.
Thank God.
And with that patch, there was no weapons tuning. So people were kind of flabbergasted, people, namely the Tron here, kind of like, what the hell is going on? Because just that day I was getting pummeled by these dual wielding shotguns. And fortunately, they kind of alluded to, yes, we'll be touching on some of that stuff shortly. And sure enough, over the weekend, they issued a touch-up to nerf the dual-wielding shotguns. However, they didn't nerf them into oblivion as we've kind of seen them do in the past. And this is really where, our main course is going to be served up for this episode. They revealed some really kind of meta, so to speak, thoughts about how they're going to approach the meta and philosophically. And what they said is, we will be looking to take on a more incremental approach to weapon nerfs. We understand it can be frustrating to commit a great deal of time to a weapon to have its viability completely stripped in an unexpected balance patch. We would like to reiterate that our North Star is weapon diversity. With that said, we feel it appropriate to announce that in the near future, we will be making some adjustments to the LMG Charlie for Vanguard, which I had to Google, that's the fucking brand, and the Submachine Charlie for Vanguard, which is the MP40, with the intent of closing the gap between these two weapons and their competitors. In addition, we will be toning down what is often referred to as visual recoil on Vanguard assault rifles. We feel this will help promote a healthier, more diverse pool of mid to long range weapons.
Yeah. I guess we saw this. It's kind of odd that they just announced that in the near future they will be nerfing these weapons. It's like, why not just nerf the weapons? You need to nerf them. Why don't you nerf the weapons? Which is just bizarre to me that they announced it. It's just so weird. I don't understand the thought process here. I kind of like their thought process with the incremental approach to weapon nerfs, though, it's not like in past iterations of nerfings, they would just destroy weapons and they were completely unviable. The recoil would go off the charts and you wouldn't be able to use any of those weapons ever again. So I like the idea that they're slowly bringing it down. They're like keeping like the integrity of the weapon, but like not, it's not like the weapon. It's not a meta. So, it's all about execution here, how they actually pull this off. That's where it's going to matter, how they nerf it. Because they could totally fuck this up as they've done before with a lot of other things. But just bizarre to me that they're announcing the nerf, but they haven't nerfed it. It's just fucking nerf it. You know what I mean?
Well, there's so much packed into that small paragraph. And I think the answer to that question I agree, like, okay, you're going to take a look at the Bren and the MP40. Like, haven't you fucking had weeks to do that while they've been dominating the scene? But I'll wait to kind of talk about why I think that delay is happening, but let's back it up because it's pretty interesting that one sentence here in specific really kind of touched me deeply compared to something we talked about last week, which is the part about it can be frustrating to commit a great deal of time to a weapon, basically to level that fucker up, and then bam, they hit you with the nerf and that thing's fucking dusted off. You're never going to see it again. Put it in the garage. You wasted all those hours. It's worthless, like the Kilo or the Farah or, some of these other Krieg guns we've put hours of time to level up. Like, I respect them for at least acknowledging that and kind of saying it seems like perhaps moving forward that will not be a thing that happens. But then with that in mind, that says to me that they think kind of the weapons across the board, other than the Bren and the MP40, are pretty damn balanced. What do you think about that?
Well, to go back to that point, what is interesting is the idea that you're spending a lot of time, leveling up these weapons, and then it gets ripped away from you with a harsh nerf. This is written for the casual player. That's what I don't understand. Like, if it's a sweatlord that's putting in 8 or 10 hours a day, you can, with your double XP tokens, you're leveling up weapons fairly quickly. This isn't for them. So that whole discussion we had last week about who is this game for, and we're saying how the casual player is getting kind of, pushed out of this game. Now they're saying, hey, casual player, we don't want to push you out of this, the time that you put in for the weapons. So it's just like, I'm not sure if they're listening to the podcast or you're talking to them behind my back, but it seems like they're starting to pay attention to the casual player a little bit more. That's how I read this. Do you see it that way?
I think definitely they're seeing hearing the community, I'm wondering if maybe behind the scenes they're seeing like player base drop off, or, they can see kind of, I'd imagine, the average, like, level of the average player. And maybe they're seeing those guys that were the ones, twos, early rankings are just fucking giving up. But we asked last week, I think the title of the episode was like, we need a fucking lifeline. So maybe we got one coming here, but the big bombshell that was kind of buried at the end of this, which now got rehashed, kind of segueing into our next, this was the Firestorm topic of the week, happened late this weekend. The community was up in arms as people responded to this tweet like, hey, thanks. What about the Vanguard or the Black Ops and Modern Warfare weapons? Like, are you going to be buffing or nerfing into those? And this is where, like, they kind of lobbed a goddamn Molotov cocktail into the community here and said, we feel that Modern Warfare and Black Ops weapons are in a fairly good spot. Similar to Black Ops integration, Vanguard will need time to receive the adjustments necessary to nicely slot into the Warzone ecosystem. So that was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then they said, as mentioned before, which I don't know when they fucking mentioned this, we will be decreasing base ADS speeds across all titles. That means Modern Warfare, Vanguard, and Black Ops. And they said this will increase the time to kill slightly, as ADS times should be considered when calculating practical TTK values. Additionally, it'll give us room to emphasize the difference between weapons classes.
What I don't understand is TTK is time to kill, but ADS is separate than that. They're saying that it's part of it, but it isn't part of it, right? Like, I thought TTK was like the time in which your bullets are hitting somebody and how long it takes to kill them. ADS is how long it takes to look down your fucking scope. So, like, yeah, it's part of, like, the killing package, but it's not TTK, right?
It's an excellent point, and you're correct. So time to kill is referring to, like, the average time from when you pull the trigger and it hits the person
to when they're dead.
They're dead.
Yeah.
And so we've always kind of said in Warzone, it felt like the TTK was creeping faster and faster, and they needed to bring it down. And remember, they gave like a massive weapons tuning patch months back where they really kind of brought most of the outliers down to collectively bring the TTK down. And so what they're saying here is they want to bring it down more, but instead of kind of, this is really the main topic that everyone got up in arms with, is one of the options is, well, you just raise player health. That would then slow the TTK, but instead they're saying, no, we're going to slow the ADS times, which kind of, as you pointed out, people in the community are saying, no, that's not going to fucking raise, TTK. That's just going to make camping and players that like just sit with their little guns drawn, holding a spot, like it's just going to cater to those types of players. And we reached out to our community on Discord, and I basically posed the question to the community, what do you guys think about this? And we got some interesting responses. Before I dig into those though, Cowboy, so where do you stand on this?
Well, I also think it's odd that they start this saying that the Modern Warfare and Black Ops weapons are in a fairly good spot. So, and then it's like the Vanguard weapons still need time to receive adjustments to have them, to fit into the ecosystem. And then in the next sentence, it's like, but we'll be decreasing ADS speeds across all titles. It's like, what? Why? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. What? Okay. I just don't think it makes, I like the idea of increasing the health. And as a player that plays a lot, one of the most frustrating aspects of a weapon is when the ADS speed is slow. It's just like, fuck, like, oh, I don't want to use this weapon. The ADS is too slow. No one likes a slow ADS. So why would you, add something that frustrates players as opposed to just increasing the health of players and, like lengthening the true TTK? I feel like this is stupid. This doesn't make sense to me. And I haven't looked at the Discord, so I'm not sure what our other folks have said, but I got a feeling they're going to agree with me.
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting. So let's go ahead. We're going to read through some of these. So we had a Discord user named Wilson say it's an odd decision, and I'm not really sure about it, to be honest. Why can't they just add 50 extra health or make plates take more damage? That's really been kind of the main argument the community, all the content creators, the biggest streamers out there have been saying, like, why not just increase health like they did with Iron Trials?
Yeah.
And But I've seen some interesting counter arguments to that as well. Then, guns that have 30 round mags are going to become less viable, so to speak. Like, you're going to be you're going to automatically kind of skew towards the guns with the bigger ammo capacity. So I don't think it's just as simple as a solution to that. But then we also had in Discord Snob, very, loyal Warzone Amateur Hour community member out there, very into the weapons scene and what's going on there. And he says the idea is to make it so LMGs handle as such and SMGs handle as such, etc. He says it makes sense. Right now, there are several ARs that beat SMGs up close, so nerfing ADS would change those fights. But he's curious how much they want to change. It, because too much, ADS speed for everything is going to just make it feel like shit. So he also thinks this favors Vanguard weapons because of the 10 attachments where you can speed up ADS. You have more of that latitude with your attachment builds. So he's saying he thinks if they nerf Cold War and Modern Warfare ARs a bunch, they won't be able to compensate and still be a good build. So kind of a delicate balance there.
I had a thought while you were reading that, and I kind of just got lost in my thoughts there with all that technical jargon. What's going to happen is that they're going to nerf the ADS times and they're going to sell blueprints with scopes that have quicker ADSs, and you'll have to buy those scopes. That's what this is all leading towards.
Maybe. And the thing is, so Raven was very, responsive, and that's how we got this interesting tidbit. But after the backlash, they've gone radio silent. No follow-up. So obviously, maybe they're hunkered down discussing it. And in theory, I'm not as black and white like this is a terrible idea. I do like the idea that, there should be more trade-offs for the heavier guns. Like an AR shouldn't be able to be a meta gun like close quarters, unless maybe you crazy build it nuts. But to me, the whole idea of different weapons classes is they should kind of excel in the different distances of engagements. But it's also, there's so many fucking weapons that there's the lines between what's an AR and what's an SMG and what's an LMG has already kind of been blurred to where I don't know how this is going to go. But we also had more follow-ups here where Pandemonium on Discord said there's a few weapons that you can build for hipfire and can actually kill at a decent range. And ADS nerve is making me want to try this out for my shorter range weapons at least, which we've seen that with the MP40. A lot of our friends are running those hipfire builds.
Same with the PPSH. I wonder if that leads to more, maybe SMGs become more of a hipfire situation as shotguns, as the very short range weapons. That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting thoughts here. And then Wheelie I Am says, wow, so the Vanguard snipers are about to really suck.
About to?
And McBango replied to him that most likely they'll go easy on them as they're pushing hard to get people to use Vanguard items.
Yeah, if they want to encourage people to use Vanguard items, they really should take a peek at their snipers and figure out how they're going to make those more viable, because I hate the new snipers. They're so much trashier than the snipers of past and marksman rifles of past. I just don't understand what they're doing. But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, another conversation. But final note on that is, if they want to look at, diversity, they said is their North Star, go fucking look at your sniper diversity, because the Kar 98 Modern Warfare and the Swiss are literally got to be 99.9% of sniper usage in this fucking game.
Yeah, well, it's you want to talk about, getting your Vanguard weapons in the Warzone ecosystem. There is not more of a gap between weapons in the same class than the snipers of Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Vanguard. It's just not even comparable. There's competent LMGs in Vanguard, obviously SMGs, ARs, as well as Modern Warfare Black Ops, but the snipers and marksman rifle game is dog shit, and they need to focus on that. It's insane. It's such a big part of the game, and they're just they're wiping their butt with our tears.
Wow. Well, that's a fair statement, and I can't argue with that, and I don't think our listeners can either. But a final reply we got on the topic in our Discord was from 12RDB, who said, I don't feel that the TTK is really the issue. Sniper ADS needs to be buffed slightly, and LMGs need more recoil. Also, movement speeds with shotguns needs to be drastically needed. Not sure if he meant slowed or sped up there. Outside of those changes, the game feels in a good spot, at least gunfight-wise. He thinks slowing down ADS on all weapons will just make the Vanguard weapons feel clunkier and have more people go back to Modern Warfare and Call of Duty guns, or Cold War.
Who said that? What name?
That was 12RDB.
12RDB. I agree with that thought. Yes, all of that makes sense. I agree completely.
Absolutely. So, as you can see, some differing thoughts in our community. If you're not already on our Discord, check it out. We put links up on our fucking Twitter, and I guess we should put it in this episode detail page. I know we had it back. Maybe we need to start spamming that. Again, also, we've been seeing great growth on YouTube and Spotify reviews and subscribers and all that. So please keep that coming. Keep sharing the podcast. We're going to keep pumping it up mid-episodes now. But that's really it. So we're yet to see, A, the Bren and MP40 nerfs come into place, and B, these sweeping ADS changes. But it sounds like, there's going to be some waves coming through the currents of Warzone.
Are we looking at this week, probably? Is it like a midweek update situation here on these things?
I'm thinking so. But again, they've now gotten so silent that maybe they're backpedaling. I don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if, say Thursday, they release an update that slightly adds more recoil to the Bren. Maybe, of course, it seems like they up the ADS time for the Bren, and they do the same thing for the MP40, and there's a bit more recoil, maybe a little less damage for the MP40, and maybe they consistently do that over the next couple of weeks. They just add a couple of points of recoil, bring down a couple of power damage or whatever it's called, for them, and I could see that happening over a couple of weeks. They just slowly make the nerfs that they want to make, as opposed to doing this massive change that makes them completely unviable. But yeah, I bet it happens this week. It'd be foolish if they put this statement out and then waited 2 weeks to make a change.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think fundamentally that outside of the Bren and the MP40 for Vanguard, and in terms of Cold War, the C58s and the OTS-9, I think, some minor nerfs to those guns. And I do think you're looking at a really wide open kind of meta for weapons. I see so many arguments being made for different guns if those ones get brought down kind of to the others' levels, because there's nothing that feels crazy overpowered. There's certainly ones that the Bren, obviously, and the MP40, those they seem to win out head to head more. But it's when those nerfs do come, I don't know if they need this ADS change. I feel like they're pretty close to where they want to be.
Yeah, I feel like this ADS change is just out of left field,
Yeah.
It's just weird. And I just, again, they're not Michelangelo, shaping David, right? This shouldn't take them years to make these changes. Fucking make the nerfs. It's not rocket science.
Well, you have to see a lot unfolding here. Clearly, Warzone's, there's things going on here. We're not the only ones that are feeling the heat. They're kind of reassuring us that, hey, if you level up a weapon, it's not going to be nerfed to shit, which is good to hear. They're saying, hey, we want to make LMGs behave a little bit more like LMGs, I think, with this ADS change. Have to wait and see about snipers, but a lot changing. And I know we really, give it to Activision and Raven, but one thing I do have on the agenda that we got to kind of highlight that they're doing well here is the Ricochet anti-cheat has seemed to really been doing its job. But in addition to that, outside of the game, their fleet of lawyers have been going to town. They dropped, it was a $800 million lawsuit this week.
Wow.
Against the company that Engine Owning is one of the main cheat providers used in Warzone and on other games collectively. And that sent seismic ripples through the cheat makers community. We've seen other cheat makers literally saying to their users, hey, we're no longer going to be fucking making cheats for Warzone, because obviously they don't want to get sued.
Yeah, that's serious. And listen, if they want to pay me some money, put me on the stand, I will say what needs to be said in court. You can buy me. I love that they're doing this. I think it's a beautiful thing, actually. And maybe we haven't talked about this enough, but since Caldera has come out, there's been some complaining from people, but I think that, when the cheats are running rampant, yes, there's a lot of cheaters. Like, you can claim you got killed by a cheater. But lately, it's like when people claim they're killed by a hacker, it's like, you're a douchebag. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nice that we don't have to worry about cheaters in the game. If you're getting smoked because you're an amateur, and that's how it should be,
I gotta say, I agree. And I will say this week I did, I think, encounter my first cheater since this whole Ricochet has gone live. It was on Rebirth. There was a guy who was using clearly an aimbot.
Really?
He wasn't crazy invincible, and we were collectively we were going at the motherfucker, and he ultimately got us. We almost had him. We cracked him a few times, but so I don't know what kind of sophisticated shit's going on there, but for the amount of games we've run to only run into one cheater, clearly that is working, and we need to applaud that.
Oh, I must not have been playing with you, because I don't think I've ran into a verified cheater yet. I don't think I have.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. He was running a Grau. It was an interesting player, total loser. But, his time, it sounds like, is running out here. If it hasn't already, hopefully he's already been identified, banned, blacklisted, sent to hell, and, tortured for all of eternity.
Yeah, I agree. But it's good to know that Activision is finding those other larger losers out there that are providing the other losers with opportunities to cheat. And they're going after them. I mean, $800 million is, it's not chump change,
Yeah, it was something like $2,500 per user that has bought the cheats or something like that. I didn't really read too much into it. If you check out, I think it's Charlie Intel's Twitter, they've linked the full website. I got the cliff notes in the comments. Don't know if those are accurate, but if I read it on the internet, I'll trust that it's true.
I'm not a lawyer. Technically, I guess you could say I'm not a lawyer technically, but I would imagine that $800 million, let's just round up to a cool billion. $1 billion they must be claiming that cheating has ruined their game, and they've lost out on nearly $1 billion in revenue, right? And that's crazy. That's
what's kind of interesting is the whole argument there. I'm curious if this ends up going through, or they settle, or, it's not essentially thrown out, we could be seeing some serious action taken to combat cheating across all of competitive video games, in the fucking United States as a whole. I've heard in other countries, they've straight up outlawed it to where these companies are just beyond sued if they try this. But the United States, this is kind of a new thing that's been happening, so we'll have to track how that goes. Well, and engine owning, I believe, is based in Germany too, so it's kind of an international thing going on here.
Yeah, I'm not I'm the amateur here. I haven't played a lot of video games outside of this one, and this may be a dumb question, but I'll ask it because others might be thinking it. Is there a lot of cheating in other games? Is that a common occurrence? Because obviously it's been something that is prominent in this game for at least for a year now since I've been playing it. Does it happen a lot in other games?
I can't testify because I'm not that deep into those, but I have to imagine any game where there's, competitive nature, it's a large player base, you're going to have players trying to find that advantage any way they can. And it's going to be via hack. Anywhere where PCs are involved, essentially, someone's going to find a way to hack, do wall hacks. Maybe not on Warzone where literally every type of hack imaginable was out there. At one point, remember the guys were driving around the fucking motorcycle, flying around, crushing people?
Yeah.
It's maybe less exploitable in other games, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah. It's a huge, crazy thing, and I'm glad that it's getting taken care of. And it's interesting because it brings up this other, and again, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not technically a lawyer. A lot of people assume I'm a lawyer, but I'm not really a lawyer. So don't take any of this as sound legal advice. But, if you have a company or a product, right? This is a product, and you have other companies that are actively diminishing the quality of your product, you should be able to sue those motherfuckers and say, hey, you're fucking my shit up. Like if you own a restaurant and somebody's like fucking throwing, pieces of shit in your restaurant and it's fucking up your customer's experience, you should be able to shut that person up and, not have them throw shit at your place. You know what I mean?
Well, to circle back on that, I'm looking at the tweet by Charlie Intel. It says, the lawsuit against Engine owning Activision is asking for the site to provide the company with all revenue made from cheat sales in the United States and award them with statutory damages caused.
Wow. Yeah, because they charge for these cheats, right? Like you purchase the cheat from this company for, I don't even know how much, $20, $10, I don't know, $5, $2, and you get, like a wall hack or something. So they're taking all that money back from them and then damage on top of that.
They're calling it for-profit, numerous malicious software products designed to enable members of the public to gain unfair competitive advantages, i.e. to cheat, in the Call of Duty games. These ongoing activities damage Activision's games, its overall business, and the experience of the COD player community.
Well, good for them.
So there you go. I know you're not a 10-inch lawyer, but there's some legalese for you.
Well, actually, that's the thing is I get it a lot. People assume I'm a lawyer.
Okay. Well, after we just kind of ragged on Activision, then applauded them, it's time to rag on them again because I got a bone to pick. I don't know if other console players, specifically PS5 players, have been experiencing it, but I'm getting these fucking app crashes with this new Warzone the Pacific. Literally every single day I am playing this game. Lately, it's been multiple times a session where the game will just freeze and then PlayStation's UI will pop up this thing like the app has experienced like an error and crashed.
So I have had this happen a time or two, but this has been happening to you specifically a lot. Every time we play together, I feel like it's happening multiple times.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on, and it's like, one option is, maybe I'll delete Warzone and then reinstall it, but it's like a fucking 100 plus 50 gigs of data. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. What's going on here? Anybody else experiencing this or have a fix or something?
It's just like dev errors, right? Like it's got to be like a development issue that they have with the game, and the changes they're making aren't jiving with like something is, they're making it. I'm just going to stop. I'm not a developer. I don't know how hard it is, but it seems like there's consistent issues with that part of it as well.
Well, it just brings to the forefront that we need the goddamn next-gen version of this game, which entails a fucking FOV2. Like, give us that. Why am I running a backwards-compatible PS4 game to play Warzone, the #1 battle royale in existence, after it's been out for literally a year and a half now? And they told us months ago they had a whole team working on a dedicated next-gen version.
You sound pretty upset about this.
It's fucking with me. It's so many games that it's happening, or like games we're doing really well. Like one of them, we were like the third term left on Rebirth. We had the Roof of Prison, which when we got that late, like I know we're going to be taking this one home. Sure enough, I get booted. Sure enough, you text the thread, yeah, we won. I miss out on that.
Yeah, we definitely, it's actually funny. We've been playing and you've been getting kicked out of the game and then we end up winning. That's happened multiple times this week. And it's almost like it galvanizes the troops, It's like Tron gets kicked out and we're all of a sudden like, all right, we got to win this one. We got to show him that we can do it without him. And it works. It really does work.
All right, well, next time we're having a rough go, maybe, next we start doing well, I'll just pull the plug and tell you guys it crashed and you'll believe me.
Well, yeah, but you don't kick. It's different because it's not like you're going to ruin the game for everybody else. It's not like when you leave, we all still have fun. If you did something like that, we would all lose out, right?
No, if I pull the plug, my guy would just disconnect. It would be the same as the app crashing.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Well, I mean, as long as there's other people alive, we should be okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's not often. Well, I guess maybe somewhat often, but we try to, drop little bits of tips here and tricks and things that can improve you. Well, one thing we discovered this week, which was kind of Scared of Clowns, had alluded to the fact that he discovered it, which then spurred me to go take a look. And that is, if you're one of these folks out there that you're flying the airplanes, you don't like to have the inverted, sticks there. You don't like up to be down and down to be up. You want it to be normal. Well, you have the option for that in the settings, and it's not really obvious where you go to find that change. So if you're out there and you've been looking for it, here's what you do. You go to your settings, you go to the controller tab, then you look for invert controls, I believe it is, and you'll see if you scroll over there, the next option is for air vehicles only. I think that it's something like that, all right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like controller, invert controls, air vehicles only, right?
Or like but I guess this would be to non-invert them. Either way, I'm going to have to tweet maybe some more accurate information there. I should have jotted down some better notes here, fellow amateurs. Apologies there from Tron.
Incredible tip for the community. Thank you so much for that one. Everyone, please go ahead and run and make the change right now. That's good stuff.
Wait. Here we go. Okay, here we go.
I'm not editing this.
Go to settings, and it's invert vertical look, and you change that to air vehicles only.
There you go. Cool.
So actually, I think that would be what we want, which would actually up is down, down is up. I don't know, but when I flew the plane, I damn near crashed the fucking thing because I was doing the sticks the wrong way. So I went in, I made this change. It's much better for me flying around now.
Good. Yeah, maybe you should maybe next week we could get some more details on that so we can guide people accurately.
All right. Well, we had a lot to dive into, but one final thing, kind of a discussion here. Maybe not an argument, which I'm sure it's going to devolve into an argument, but I'm curious to hear the community's thoughts. It's a hot button issue amongst our community, and I know it's something that gets you hot under the collar, 10-Inch Cowboy, and I want to talk about officially.
Yeah.
Is loot entitlement. Now, I know you certainly believe in it. You believe, if somebody opens a crate, that they're entitled to that bountiful loot.
Let's take a step back. Let's take a step back and start at like the larger picture here.
Okay.
If two people are on a team, or let's say there's multiple people on a team, whatever. What really busts my fucking balls is when two guys go into the same house. If there's like a bunch of houses around and it's like the loot is fresh, there's nobody around, you guys are looting. Why the fuck would you go into the same house as somebody else and even start to compete for the loot that is in that house? Go to your own fucking house. Get your own fucking loot. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is that what pisses me off more than anything is like, listen, this is the amateur hour here. I am an amateur gamer here, okay? I fucking open a crate and some douche on my team runs up behind me and I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to grab this weapon and replace my secondary. So let me switch weapons. All right, I'm going to grab it. And as I'm switching weapons, somebody runs up and grabs the fucking gun from the crate that I just opened up that I was about to fucking grab. It's like, dude, give me a fucking second here. Yeah, it's a hot button issue because it's bullshit. You don't just, this isn't fucking Vietnam. There's rules here.
So clearly you believe in entitlement.
Listen, if two people are like, yeah, I do. I think if you open a crate, and there's obviously nuance and it's not black and white. If like two people are standing in a crate and they kind of like open it at the same time and it's like, oh, I opened it. Oh, you opened it. No, then it's like, that's one thing. But like, if you open a crate and somebody just runs up a couple seconds later as you're looking to like figuring out it's like, come on, like go fucking find your own crate, bitch.
Well, let me back it up first to the whole idea of like, oh, I ran into this building and there's someone else. Get your own building. Like, well, they could be saying the same fucking thing about you.
No. I'm not saying like, well, yeah, but it's, okay, two people typically don't enter the building at the exact same time. And obviously there's different types of buildings. It's like, if it's like a tiny little hut on Caldera, why would you go into the same building as somebody else? Like, why wouldn't you go to and of course it's like, if there's multiple buildings, like, I'm talking about a very specific situation here. If there's one building, yeah, you guys both go into the building, but it's like, why wouldn't you go to this other building and fucking loot? Like, it's more efficient. And if somebody should be anything, they should be efficient. And it's inefficient and it's bullshit. And it's not a good way to play.
Well, at the same time, though, what if there's a third person in that building and he's an enemy? You'd probably be glad that that second guy was in there with you to bail you out.
Again, I'm not, you can bring up a million different situations in which I'm talking generally. without enemies in the buildings, and you guys are dropping in a location where you know there aren't enemies, and it's like you guys are doing your first loot storm, why would you go in the same building as somebody else? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, you know, fucking, it's like last circle. Oh, don't get in my building. It's not what I'm saying at all.
But the first circle can be just as hectic. And yeah, you might think nobody's around, but how often is that not true? And so many times there are people around. So like,
okay.
I understand like people should split up a little. If you see someone's and that's a house, I'll usually avoid it, but it's not because like, oh, I'm going to split up. It's like, oh, they already got that one. They already got the loot because I'm going to trust that they're fucking savages and they're scavenging like little fucking rats, nibbling up every little thing, which that's what I want them to do because that's what I'm fucking doing, all right?
Yeah, but that's a totally different conversation. That has nothing to do with loot entitlement. Yeah, of course you should be a fucking expert looter.
Entitlement. It's clear you believe in it, but when it comes to loot entitlement for the Tron, I say it's the fastest who gets paid, and it's the fastest who gets laid, all right? That item's there for the fucking taking. Nobody's got their little fucking name on it. I don't care if you open the goddamn thing. You snatch that fucker up as quick as you can, and like, oh, they switched to their secondary so they could get a little secondary. Maybe I got a goddamn pistol in my hand, and I'm trying to get something fucking in my, you know, a little better right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's the kind of teammate you are, and I'm the kind of teammate I described I was. And we can leave it at that, and that's totally fine.
Well, I respect, though. When I'm with another teammate and they snatch it out and I hear him giggle on the thing, I'm like, hey, you got it. You know, that's fair. But I will say, when it comes to, like, let's say you purchase a loadout and you drop, like, a kill streak or something, I'm fine with, yeah, you guys can pick that up. Or if somebody, like, bails me out of a situation and murks someone and they drop a satchel, I'm typically the bigger man. Like, you go ahead, you have that satchel. But when it comes to, like, looting right off the rip, I say, like, you know, fucking no holds barred. Get the guns, you know, snatch them as quick as you can. If you get to them first, that's on me. I'll take the lesson. I'll get a little faster next time.
Totally. Yeah, we disagree on this, and that's okay.
All right. Well, we're curious to hear what you all think out there in the community. Do you have any sort of unwritten rules or certain things among your friends?
Let me ask you this. If somebody kills somebody, right? Like your teammate guns down somebody. Do you think that because he killed that person, he should have first run to go up and like get the plates that person dropped and like kind of like do a run through on that? Or do you think it's totally fine if the guy who was a coward hiding in the corner while your teammate killed that guy runs up and grabs all the shit before your buddy gets on it? And he's probably putting plates on because he was just in a battle. I'm sure you're okay with that then, huh?
There's times where, like I said, I'll defer, but there's also other times where very much so, like they snatch a plates. If they need plates and they're getting what they need, that's fine. There's not this meritocracy, like fairness, like, oh, you have 2 in reserve and I have none. Like,
that's not what I'm saying.
Like, you work that shit out after. There's no time for questions and hesitation often, especially after someone's killed. Like, if things settle down, we wipe the team, then we can assess, like, oh, you need an extra plate? Let me drop those ones I just picked up off the guy. But
your little Timmy sitting in the corner fucking watching me fucking wipe teams, and yeah, I'm going to lose a couple of plates. You got a satchel with 7 in the hole, and I don't have any because I just fucking killed 3 guys, and then you run in there to fill your satchel. I'm gonna be like, bitch, give me 4 of those. That's how it is.
Anyone who can attest who's played with me, of all players, I am incredibly gracious and
it's so easy for you to
when
say
it comes
on a
to plays.
When
I
no
always
one's fucking played with you. Oh, get out of here. Every time I get in a gunfight, you go hide, wait for the fucking guy for me to do the most damage, and yeah, I usually die, and then you run in there. Once this guy's plating up, revving his buddy, then you get the 2 kills, and then you're fucking stealing my kills. That's exactly what happens.
That's what you think's happening? Well,
I got plenty of videos. Keep an eye on the YouTube, folks, because I'm going to fucking out Tron.
All right, and next time we stream, you keep an eye. Speaking of keeping an eye, I'm always checking in the bottom left. If I see someone shy a plate, especially early on, I always say, hey, you need a plate, and you can fucking be damn sure that's true, and you know it.
I let my gameplay do the talking. I go in there hot, and I go in heavy, and I fucking get kills.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. Some heated discussions both on the podcast, on the community, and in our Discord. We love hearing from you all. We love growing this community. So, yes, keep liking, subscribing, following, leaving us reviews, checking us out on YouTube. We're really trying to ramp up our video clips. As we said, our patrons, we've been sending out wins of the week. We've been able to keep up with that so far, 2 weeks in. So fingers crossed there.
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good win of the weeks. I think we got one this week. Yeah, I think we got a good one this week, actually.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next week. Sounds like there'll be some changes in the meantime. So until then.
Drop your buddy armor fucking box after he shreds for you and while you hide in the corner like Tron, and good luck in the gulag.
Good luck in the gulag.